Five Nights at Freddy's, what a fucking hood classic. Y'all already know what this is. Going over the TLDR is just redundant at this point. Y'all have seen the Markiplier Let's Plays, y'all have seen the game theories, y'all have heard the music. This was one of the biggest game franchises of the 2010s. It hit big on the internet, benefiting the most from Let's Plays on YouTube. This was the game that really proved that getting your name on the front page of YouTube is one of the best ways to become popular nowadays. People have talked this game to death already, from the lore, to the Let's Plays, to the ASMR.
Yeah, it looks like it's just another boring night, watching the security cameras. Over. What do you mean I should keep an eye on the animatronic?
And while Fnaf has become one of the greats in terms of indie games, if we're being honest, this franchise has had its highs and lows in terms of game quality. And one thing I don't see when I look at the sea of Fnaf videos is a video asking the question, should I like? Now, for the first game, I'm going to start off with the worst game, and I'm sure this comes as a surprise to nobody because it's Five Nights at Freddy's 3. This game kinda sucks. I mean, from a visual and aesthetic perspective, it's pretty good, with the unkempt Halloween spook house being nice and Springtrap and the Phantoms looking pretty scary. But when you actually get into the gameplay, it is easily the worst in the series. The cameras and vents are stupid, the audio button is unreliable, and there's only one animatronic. And the extra mechanic of having to reboot the 3 systems just turns half the game into a waiting simulator. Even the jump scare when you die is easily the worst in the series. I mean, come on, he just walks up to you. But while this game can lack in terms of gameplay, it surely makes up for it in terms of lore, right?
Oh, you'd think so, wouldn't ya?
While the lore itself does provide a nice conclusion to the story up to that point, this game has some of the most convoluted bullshit needed for you to actually obtain it. I think that too many people just forget how stupid some of this was. Remember the mini-games? You know, the ones that you could only get to by going into a secret part of a Between Nights minigame, figuring out the clue, completing the minigame, and then going into a glitch in the wall, which has no visual cue, and giving cake to a crying child. Remember putting the numbers into the wall like a fucking numpad?
Oh look, here's a wall. Let me just dial in my phone number. Beep boop boop beep boop.
This game suffers a lot from mismanagement. While there were some really good ideas to be had on this game, they're buried under so much tedium and confusing bullshit that in my opinion, it's just not worth it. So, Fnaf 4. A considerable jump in quality from the third game, but still not all that great. This game broke up the formula by having you play as a kid in his room fending off his nightmares. The designs in this game, while at first they do look scary, when you think about it, they kinda betray the original concept for the enemies in this game. They just completely throw out the uncanny valley effect that all the other animatronics had in place of this nightmare effect. And to be honest, after the initial shock of seeing these things, the frightening nature of them really wears off over time. In the end, they just end up looking cluttered and almost uninspired. From a gameplay perspective, a lot of this game relies on the mechanic of listening. You have to listen for the quiet breaths of Bonnie and Chica, the little screams of the Freddy plushies, and the gentle laughter and steps of Golden Fredbear. And right as you're focused on trying to find that one side— Ah! Jesus Christ! It's actually a pretty cool mechanic, and it adds a lot of dread to the game, is what I would say if it was a good mechanic. Let's be honest, the first time you play this game, it's pretty cool, but as you play more and more, it just starts to become a cheap extension of the jump scares. But when it comes to the lore, this game delivered, giving a really unique story in the Between Nights minigames, and there were huge plot revelations hidden all over the place. It was crazy! And while I'm on the track of praising this game, might I just say that the sound design in this game is just beautiful. From the subtle sounds created by the animatronics, to the jagged and jittery effects in the minigames, to the eerie background music blanketing the entire game, this game was not all bad. Next up is Sister Location. This game was the formula breaker of the series. You aren't even trapped in one place anymore. Instead, each night is different, with different objectives and different animatronics trying to rip your ass a new one. And if I'm being honest, this is probably the scariest game in the series. Hear me out. In all the other games before this, the scariness of it always comes and goes in the first couple of nights, and after that, it's just repetition and increasing difficulty. But in this game, every night has the freedom to be uniquely creepy, and trust me, it hits. From having to listen to Ballora as you crawl through her space, to the
motion trigger, circus gallery vent.
Wait, what? Oh shit! To only having those light flashes to gauge whether Freddy is gonna kill you or not, to the little mini arenas crawling up and into your suit, to seeing Ballora being fucking demolished and knowing that you are next and just as mortal as her. Yeah, this game delivers. Where this game kinda doesn't deliver is in the gameplay itself. While these games, yes, they are very frightening on the first playthrough, once you actually take a step back and seriously look at them, they are stupidly simple. Most of these are just point-and-click adventures, and if not that, they're red light, green light, and if not that, they're Night 4, and Night 4 is hell! Night 4 is notoriously, stupidly fucking difficult, and not for any good reason. All it is you clicking on circles while mini arenas crawl up your suit. It's just really unforgiving, and that's not fun. And while the lore in this game does make up for it a bit, with some really great points being the scooping room, and Baby's backstory, this game absolutely deserves its spot at B tier. Ultimate Custom Night, the happy end to this long and bitter story. The 7th game in the series, mimicking the 7th night of the previous games. It allows you to customize the difficulty of the animatronics. Which animatronics? Well, all of them, of course. This game gives you 56 animatronics to worry about, a stupidly big number, represented best by the controls. Jesus fucking Christ. While some of these guys are more important to the gameplay than others, most of the enemies you'll be facing are unique, and 50-20 mode is easily the most difficult challenge the entire series has to offer.
Please deposit 5.
8 9
Please deposit 5.
From a lore standpoint, this game gives a satisfying ending to a story that still, years later, has yet to be cleared up. William Afton, the purple guy, is left to be tormented by his own creations for all eternity, being kept in this purgatory by Cassidy, the vengeful soul that still haunts Golden Freddy. Or half of Golden Freddy. It's complicated, but nonetheless, this still serves as a solid ending to this franchise, and honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. Fnaf 2, the beautiful continuation of the first game that pushed the series forward in so many ways. Where do I even start? The designs are incredible! From Toy Bonnie's bug eyes, to Withered Chica's unhinged beak, to Withered Bonnie's face, to Mangle's Mangle. These designs did an incredible job retaining the uncanny valley effect of the first game, while at the same time upping the creepiness of each of these motherfuckers. And the gameplay elements, that decision to get rid of the doors was just beautiful. You feel so unsafe at any and all times, and that little mask is not that protective. I mean, you can see the animatronics leering right in front of you. The puppet as well is also really fucking terrifying, forcing you into the camera to wind up that fucking music box. There are so many iconic sound effects in this game, from the music box I mentioned before, Balloon Boy's fucking Mangle's garbled radio sound, that one sound effect that plays whenever an animatronic gets close, but when you play at higher difficulties, the animatronics are constantly moving, so you just hear it playing over and over and over again. One thing that people often forget about this franchise is that the lore didn't really start with the first game. It started with the second one, and these motherfucking 8-bit minigames. These games do such a good job at getting the lore points across in such a perfectly cryptic fashion. Plus, the entire twist that it's a goddamn prequel! That may seem like it's small news now, but at the time, it was fucking mind-blowing. And you can never forget those between night segments where you're in a Freddy suit and all you can do is just look left and right. Yeah, this game deserves A tier. And we get to S tier. A competition for the best FNAF game almost always comes down to these two. The original game that started it all, and the rock-solid ending that wrapped everything together. These two games in this position is just a testament to how great this game series really is. I mean, think about it. The beginning and end are in competition for the best in the series. So, before we determine a winner between these two, let's go over them, starting with... the game that started it all. I feel like people tend to forget the genuine uniqueness of the first game. The fact that you can't even move just makes you feel so powerless. A lot of horror games will give you the ability to hide, run away, or even fight whatever enemy is coming after you, but not in this game. All you have are some lights, doors, a camera, and a limited supply of power to defend yourself from these motherfuckers. Speaking of these motherfuckers, these designs are iconic. They nail the uncanny valley, perfectly tap into that fear that so many have of animatronics. The sound design as well is stellar. I could just go through a list in words, but there's just so much to go through. The storytelling is done pretty damn well too, giving out its lore through random news clippings, glitches, and crazy effects. And while yes, you could say that the gameplay is linear, or the jump scares are underwhelming, or the harder difficulties are unfair, there is a reason this game got as big as it got, and it's not just the Markiplier Let's Plays. Pizzeria Simulator is a pizzeria simulator, where you simulate a pizzeria. But not that pizzeria, this pizzeria, with fun minigames, plenty of ads, and the murderous animatronics we found in the back alleyway. But really, this game is amazing. It probably has one of the greatest intros to a horror game ever. There's just you, and this thing in a dark, empty room. No protection, just a table. No door, no mask, no flashlight. Just you, it, and these fucking loud-ass noises, the tension, the uncertainty. You don't know how it'll react to these noises. You don't know if you really have the choice of throwing it out. You don't know if that recording is working with you, or if it's just using you as a test dummy. The only thing that you know for sure is going on is that that thing wants to kill you. Once you're done with that madness, you move on to the Pizzeria Simulator, where you can decorate your pizzeria with fun mini-games, put up animatronics that don't want to kill you for once, and sell your soul to capitalism. And honestly, this game has the best sense of humor out of all of them. From Helpy breaking his fucking spine, to the lawsuits, to the infomercials that play at the beginning and the end of the game. This game is a fucking riot, and it's crazy that even though the comedy is insane, the gameplay and story still manage to outperform it. In the gameplay, there's no doors, no mask, just a wide open vent and the animatronics. And it's no longer a waiting game anymore. You have to complete tasks to end the night. You have to run a fan that cools you down. And both of these make noise. And that attracts the animatronics. You are forced to do the exact thing that is going to get you killed. Oh, and remember when you sold your soul to capitalism for Lally's Lollies? Well, that comes with a price in the form of an ad blaring on your computer screen. The story of this franchise has always been a mess, so tying it all together is no easy task. Nonetheless, this game pulls through, delivering the best ending this series could honestly offer. It's so direct. Only a short minute of dialogue, but it conveys all its information flawlessly. Henry interrupting baby's dialogue, getting to say parting words to his daughter, his old friend, and the Afton family with the terrible history that William created. It's a perfect ending to the series with a fucking infinite hedge maze of a story.
I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, The darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
Well, which one's better? Well, FNAF 1 captivated millions with its unique mechanics and started a whole ass genre of horror, but Pizzeria Simulator delivers so well from so many perspectives that it has to win between these two. So there it is, your tier list for FNAF. So, should I like it? Well, the series as a whole was pretty damn great, and while it did go through some weird phases, the fact that it came out stronger than it started shows wonders to Scott Cawthon's ability to make games. So, yeah, you should like Five Nights at Freddy's. But this is actually the real tier list, ranking games on Markiplier's reaction to beating a 2020 mode. This actually proves that the first game was the best and that